Hey, let's sing a song together.
There is a book that was sent from God. The Bible is its name. Oh, B-I-B-L-E, B-I-B-L-E, B-I-B-L-E. The Bible is its name. Oh. There is a book that was sent from God. The Bible is its name. Oh, I-B-L-E, I-B-L-E, I-B-L-E. The Bible is its name. Oh. There is a book that was sent from God. The Bible is its name. Oh, B-L-E, B-L-E, B-L-E. The Bible is its name. Oh. There is a book that was sent from God. The Bible is its name. Oh, L-E, L-E, L-E. The Bible is its name. Oh. There is a book that was sent from God. The Bible is its name. Oh, E, E, E. The Bible is its name. Oh. There is a book that was sent from God. The Bible is its name. Oh, the Bible is its name. Oh. There is a book that was sent from God. The Bible is its name. Oh, B-I-B-L-E, B-I-B-L-E, B-I-B-L-E. The Bible is its name. Oh.
And welcome to Sunday School today, boys and girls. We are so excited that you're here. Today we're going to talk about a young boy named Samuel. Can you say his name? Samuel. You see, years ago, there was a lady who was praying for a son, and her name was Hannah. Hannah had no children. However, Elkanah, her husband, had another wife who had already had children, and she was well favored for that. And Hannah was so sad that she had no children. She went to the church one day and she started boo-hooing and crying, so much so that the preacher thought she had been drinking. Well, he told her, "Hey, why don't you stop your drinking?" And she goes, "I haven't been drinking. My heart is so broken. I really want a son. Oh, I've been praying that God would give me a son." And he told her, Eli, the priest, he told her that God would give her a son. And she had made a promise to God that if the Lord would give her a son, that she would give him back to the Lord. She just really wanted a son. Not long after that, sure enough, she found out the news that she was going to have a baby. And sure enough, it was a boy. And as Samuel grew, she brought him to the church. She brought him to the priest, Eli. And there, Samuel grew up. Man, he got to run around the temple. He got to see everybody. He got to see all the things that would go on around the church, around the temple. And he was so excited. Well, as he grew, he loved obeying Eli. Everything that Eli told him to do, he was 100% willing to do. And one day, Eli was asleep, and Samuel had gone to bed. And Samuel heard his name called, Samuel. Or maybe it was more like, Samuel. But he rose up and he ran into Eli and said, "Eli, you called me. Surely you called me. What do you need?" And Eli's like, "I didn't call you. Go back to bed." So, sure enough, Samuel went back to bed. Then he heard it again. Samuel. So he jumped out of bed again, ran over to Eli, and Eli's like, "I didn't call you. Go back to bed." And it happened a third time. Finally, after that third time, it clicked, I think, to Eli. He said, "Now I believe this is the Lord." So next time you hear that voice, say, "Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth." So Samuel went back to bed. He laid there. Anybody snore in your family? He laid there. Samuel, Samuel. He jumped out. He said, speak, for thy servant heareth. And God told him a secret, something of the future that was about to happen to Eli and his sons, because his sons had done some wicked things. So that next morning, Eli gets up. Samuel, did the Lord call you again? And what did he say? Don't hold anything back. Tell me what he said. Or if you don't, may it be done unto you what he said. That was a hard thing to do. So Samuel told him what was going on, and he listened. Boy, that must have been hard. Years go by, and not all the time did the children of Israel obey and keep God's commands. Eventually, they got tired of listening to God. And so they started saying, you know what? We don't need God as our king. We want a regular king, like those people over there and those people over there. Give us our own king. And Samuel now is the prophet. And he said, no, God is your king. You need to obey God. But that's not what they wanted to do. They wanted a king. So God said, all right, if they want a king, they need to understand they're going to have to give their sons and daughters to serve him. They're going to have to, and he went through the things, but they said, no, we still want a king. So Samuel anointed Saul by God's choice. But Saul didn't stay obeying God either. He went and did some things he wasn't supposed to, and he didn't do things he was supposed to, and it was just not good. So God had rejected Saul from being king, and he had chose David. You know the story, where David was anointed to be the next king. Oh, and all the rest of the years of Samuel, he served God. What is something we can learn from this lesson? What's something we can learn? Well, you can pray in faith. Hannah prayed and she prayed and she prayed, and God gave her a son. You can pray, and when you pray in accordance to God's will, God answers prayer. Because it's simple, because you're praying of what God wants to happen. Did you know sometimes God answers yes? Sometimes God answers no. And sometimes God simply says, wait. It's a yes, but not yet. Well, that's one thing you can learn. How about this? Listen to God. Samuel laid there and he listened, but he thought it was Eli, but it was really the Lord. And finally, he listened to the Lord and did exactly what the Lord would say. Then another thing you can learn is keep your promises. Hannah could have chose, well, he's my son. I will do what I want with him. Did you know that God gave her several more children because she kept her promise? We need to keep our promises. That's something you can learn from this lesson. And then remember that God always cares about you. God cares and he watches for you. And here's something else you can learn. God can use kids too. Don't ever think, I'm too young, I'm too little, God can't use me. That's where you're wrong. God can, and he wants to use you. He really does. God wants to use you. He wanted to use little Samuel. God wants to use you too. There are many boys and girls in the Bible that were used. Think of the little lad who had 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. I think of the 2 young men that obeyed their widowed mother and went and got vessels and borrowed not a few. They got a lot, and the oil stayed. I remember King Josiah, who was made king at only 8 years old, and he did all that was right in the sight of God. There's a lot of boys and girls that did right, and you can too. And God can use you too, just like he did Samuel. Well, thanks for watching, boys and girls, today. I hope you learned something, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.